storytelling and stories were always part of my family tradition. We always had stories in my family, and especially we always shared stories, and there was always a time in which that was dedicated to the sharing of stories. And when I came to the United States, and of course when I went to library school and graduated, I became a children's librarian, and I started looking through the folklore, you know, the 398.2 section of the library. That was, wow, the greatest section of the library for me. I looked through all those stories and I said, this is fascinating. And I started looking at stories that were so similar from the ones that I learned from my great aunt Nena, who I said before did not know how to write and read. But so I started seeing the connection, the universality of these stories that were part of the folklore of all the peoples of the world, and how somehow there was something binding them together. That got me interested in folklore, in orality. And then I narrowed it more to the Latin American culture. Like I was telling stories to Latino parents, right? And I discovered that we were all telling the same stories, but the mothers would be fighting among each other because that was not the way they heard it, little details in the stories, but they were the same stories. So I thought, this is something that binds us as a people, our stories. And that's when I started my research. But I was already telling the stories and sharing the stories with the children and the families in the library.